Okay, so to apply constraints to a deck that you have placed, I'm going to select the deck that I want to modify the constraints. Go to my Properties tab, and with Variable Constraints, select that ellipsis. And you will be able to see every constraint that is listed for the bridge deck. And you can see that currently, if you select it, lane left 1, even though the default is this value here, you can see that in the super elevation, by applying the super elevation, it's already been set to -3%, -3%, and your lane right 1 is set to -4.7 and -4.7. So lane, 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 shoulder, shoulder are all the cross slopes that are defined as constraints, and they've all been activated and they've all been set by applying the super elevation. So what we have left is width of lane, and I want to make it active. And the default is 12, -12 for lane left 1, -12 for lane left 2, and those are fine. The default for lane right 1 is also 12, so we don't need to make any modifications on that. But with shoulder left 1 is -3. That is not what we want, so I'm going to go ahead and have this apply from support line 1, and for the full width, start distance, end distance is the length of the bridge. And I want it to be -10 and -10. And then I already have my shoulder right 1, the default value is already 10 foot wide. So I'm just going to say to ask it to apply that change that I've made, and you can see that it applied it. And in the 3D, it's now applied the shoulder, a wider shoulder to left shoulder to that approach slab. But as I can show you here, we've run this a curved alignment with a straight bridge. So it's a variable, and 10 foot doesn't quite define it. And you can actually see that over here on the right, the edge of our bridge, the edge of our approach slab does not quite come out to where we've defined that it needs to be. So the other aspect of this that is very, very handy, you need to remember that you are looking in increasing station like this. So this is left, this is right. It's much like flying a drone. If it's coming at you, right and left are different. So just keep that in mind for kind of your oddball situations. But in order to make this somewhat easier, gently put in a point control. And I'm going to select that ellipsis in order to be able to show you how this works. So it brings up looking in the order of increasing stations. So this is left, this is right. And if you click inside this detail here, you can zoom in and see, just in case you've forgotten, P8 defines the outside shoulder. So I'm going to come to P8, and for the direction, I want to define a horizontal alignment. I want to go select it in my image. That's the approach edge of approach slab that we have defined in the bridge layouts is where I want it to apply, and it's just going to pull it out there horizontally, not vertically, because you can see vertically it would define it all the way down here at the 0 plane where I've got my bridge layouts drawn. So we don't want that. It's just horizontal. If I apply it, it's now stretched it out to meet that line exactly. So I actually need to do that for my right shoulder as well. Click back in my image, come back out here. That's 0.2. Select horizontal, select the line I want to apply, and apply it. And it stretches it right out to be exactly on top of that line. So it's made this shoulder what appears to be almost wider than what a lane is. You can see over on this corner that it's just applied about a 6-inch, 4 to 6 inch bump out for that 13-foot section. So point control is a fairly powerful tool, and when it comes to haunch slabs, I will maybe touch on that a little bit as well. So I'm going to go ahead and also do that. Select the other approach slab, other section of approach slab. Go to my point control, go to 0.2, which is over here. It's on my right. Select, zoom in, select that bridge layout line. Select that. Okay, and apply it. And then 0.8, select horizontal, and apply that. Okay, then when we go back into our 3D, everything matches up beautifully. It's all good. And then briefly, I would say that right here, if I go back to, so KDOT typically has a membrane sealant joint right here in this area between the 13-foot and the rest of the approach slab. And so just to model that correctly, I'm going to set it to 3 inches. And essentially, this is feet. If you select this, it's asking what your start station offset is and your end station offset. And again, I'm under the properties tab. For 1.5 inches, I want my end station offset. I'm going to define a negative 0.125 offset. If I zoom in here, you can now see that there it pulled the end of that deck back from that support line by 1.5 inches. And then if I select my other deck, my other section of approach slab, and then this will be my start station offset, and I want it to be 0.25, and it pulls it back. Now, I know that this is defining a 3-inch along profile grade gap, which would be obviously less for the perpendicular gap. But for the ease of it, and if I zoom in here, I can see that I now have a gap between my two approach slabs, between my 13-foot panel and the rest of the approach slab. So just briefly showing how that is possible to do that, to have the 3D model actually depict what is actually going to be occurring in the field.